Welcome to the debate. Today, we are looking at a fascinating tension right at the heart of the packaging industry. We're breaking down the environmental viability and, well, the true sustainability of laminated food cartons versus circular packaging materials.
Yeah, it's a topic that sounds highly technical on the surface, but it actually dictates the environmental footprint of almost everything we eat and drink.
Exactly. And we are specifically framing our discussion around one central pressing question. Does the incredibly lightweight nature and the food-preserving capability of laminated cartons outweigh their fundamental lack of true recycling circularity at the end of their life cycle? This whole discussion emerges from some really compelling source material. Specifically, a comprehensive analysis of the packaging industry focusing on Cartn, which is one of the world's largest manufacturers of cartons and tubs. And we're balancing that against some recent, highly critical industry reports on recycling from the University of Central City.
Right. It's essentially a clash between the harsh realities of global logistics and the ideals of a waste-free world.
Very true. And just to lay our cards on the table right up front, I'll be taking the stance that laminated cartons are, at present, the optimal pragmatic packaging solution because of their unparalleled ability to prevent food waste and dramatically reduce transport emissions.
And my stance today is a bit more critical. I look at these laminated cartons and I see a systemic failure of sustainability, largely because their inherent structural design totally prevents true circularity. It basically forces the industry to rely on downcycling to mask ongoing environmental harm.
All right, so to really get into this, I think we first need to agree on what the primary environmental function of food packaging actually is. Because from a pragmatic standpoint, packaging doesn't just exist to look good on a supermarket shelf. It exists to preserve the calories and nutrients inside, and to minimize the massive carbon footprint associated with moving that food from a farm or a factory to a consumer's plate.
I agree that preservation is key, sure, but preservation at what long-term cost?
Well, let's look at that cost versus the immediate benefit. Because when you evaluate laminated cartons against the metrics of preservation and logistics, they're absolute marvels of modern engineering. Consider aseptic packaging, particularly in the dairy industry. The process is incredible. They heat milk to 135 degrees centigrade for just a few seconds to create ultra-high temperature, or UHT milk. Because of the highly sophisticated, sterilized nature of the multi-layered carton that the milk is immediately poured into, it essentially acts as a time machine for the food. I mean, that milk can sit on a shelf and stay completely fresh for up to 6 months without any refrigeration whatsoever.
It is a neat trick of engineering, I'll give you that.
It's way more than a trick, though. Think about the global cold chain. You've got refrigerated trucks, massive chilled warehouses, the open coolers in supermarkets. It's one of the most energy-intensive networks on Earth. By removing the cold chain from the logistics equation for billions of liters of liquid, you eliminate a staggering amount of energy consumption. The food waste savings alone are massive. Furthermore, flexible and semi-rigid containers like these cartons are substantially lighter than rigid containers like glass jars or metal cans, and that weight differential translates directly into a massive reduction in the fuel burn during transportation. I see why you think that, but let me give you a different perspective on how we evaluate environmental impact. If we focus entirely on the garbage bin at the end of a product's life, we completely blind ourselves to the profound, holistic environmental benefits and the massive carbon emission savings generated during its actual operational use.
I come at it from a different way. True sustainability cannot simply be a ledger of immediate carbon savings. It requires what we term circularity, and we should probably define that because the word gets thrown around a lot. Circularity is the ability to recover materials and seamlessly return them to their original state for reuse.
Right, so a glass bottle becomes a glass bottle again.
Exactly. You melt down a clear glass bottle, you cast a new glass bottle. You melt down an aluminum can, and it becomes a brand new aluminum can. It's a closed loop. Laminated cartons, however, are structurally opposed to circularity. Their very design is inherently flawed from a long-term sustainability perspective. Look, we are talking about a highly complex construction here. You have a thick paperboard layer for structure. Then you have protective polyethylene plastic layers on both the outside and the inside. And buried in there, you have an incredibly thin aluminum layer to block out light and bacteria.
which is exactly what gives it that 6-month shelf life.
Yes, but because these vastly diverse materials are permanently bonded together with heavy adhesives, they are incredibly difficult to separate. Think about trying to unbake a cake. You can't just easily scrape the aluminum off the plastic and toss it back into a smelter. A recent report from the University of Central City highlighted a deeply troubling trend here. Consumers fundamentally confuse repurposing with recycling.
Meaning they think it's going back into the loop.
Precisely. They toss it in the blue bin and just assume it becomes a new milk carton. But turning a congealed mix of plastic and aluminum into building materials or roof tiles or park benches is not circularity, it is downcycling. And it is an incredibly inadequate substitute because every single time a carton is repurposed rather than recycled into a new carton, the packaging industry is forced to go out and extract and refine new fossil-based plastics to replace the original materials for tomorrow's packaging. We are treating a symptom while entirely ignoring the disease.
I'm not convinced by that line of reasoning because it somewhat willfully ignores the measurable, quantifiable progress that manufacturers are making right now to mitigate the environmental impact of their production processes. This isn't a static industry that's just shrugging its shoulders. Let us look at Cartn specifically from the source material. Cartn has actually reduced its average greenhouse gas emissions per carton from 35.0 grams of CO2 equivalent in 2015 down to 24.0 grams today.
Just to ground that for the listeners, when we say embodied carbon or CO2 equivalent here, we're talking about all the greenhouse gases emitted just to get that empty carton manufactured and to the factory door, right?
Exactly. It's the footprint of the empty vessel itself. And a drop from 35 grams to 24 grams might sound small on an individual level, but when you multiply that by the billions of cartons produced globally, that is a massive, tangible reduction in embodied carbon at scale. Furthermore, this progress is structurally embedded into their corporate governance. It's not just a fancy marketing brochure. Cartn's director of product development has explicit oversight over all strategic matters relating to sustainability. They have a dedicated sustainability committee that actively holds department heads accountable if they fail to achieve these stringent targets. They are taking their operational footprint incredibly seriously.
That's a compelling argument. But have you considered that celebrating a reduction in production emissions conveniently allows the manufacturer to completely ignore the product's end-of-life reality?
I don't think they're ignoring it, though. They're optimizing what they can actually control.
But look at the whole picture. It is wonderful that the embodied carbon has dropped to 24 grams. I genuinely applaud that engineering efficiency. But what happens when that carton is empty? If a local government lacks specific, highly specialized repurposing facilities capable of handling multi-layered adhesives, and let's be honest, most municipalities do not have these facilities, these cartons cannot be placed in a standard recycling stream. They jam up the works.
Which means they end up in the residual waste stream.
They must be disposed of as common household waste. The inevitable result is that millions of these optimally produced, low-carbon cartons are dumped straight into landfill sites, where they will sit and take many years to decompose. The trade-off you are championing, a slight reduction in embodied carbon versus the creation of perpetual waste, is a false economy. We are quite literally manufacturing future geological strata out of laminated paperboard.
I think calling it a false economy misses the urgency of the moment. That represents a highly sophisticated trade-off, and I do not dismiss the landfill issue. It is a genuine, glaring challenge for civic infrastructure. However, in the context of an escalating climate crisis, the immediate real-world climate benefit of reducing global transport and refrigeration emissions must take precedence. A lighter package saves diesel fuel today. A shelf-stable package prevents methane-emitting food waste today.
But we have to question the absolute necessity of creating that complex bonding in the first place. The engineering itself is highly questionable from a waste perspective. Let's break down the science of these layers you mentioned earlier. To make one of these safe cartons, the design requires 2 distinct layers of polyethylene plastic. Why? Merely to prevent the acidic nature of the food from dissolving the aluminum layer.
It's a bit more complex than that, but yes, acidity is a factor.
The metal. And why is the aluminum layer there to begin with? Simply to block light so the food doesn't spoil as quickly.
This is textbook over-engineering. It inherently creates a permanent waste problem that simple, uniform materials just do not have. We are bonding together materials that fundamentally do not belong together, essentially creating a hybrid material that nature cannot break down and our civic infrastructure cannot easily process. I'm sorry, but I just don't buy that. Let me tell you why. We've existed for decades using simpler, albeit heavier, uniform materials that are perfectly circular. The choice to move to laminated layers was a choice for corporate logistical convenience, not environmental stewardship.
I have to push back hard on the idea that this is over-engineered. And I must firmly defend the engineering here, using the evidence drawn from the material science of the packaging itself. Every single layer is doing a crucial job. Single-layer materials are both exceptionally difficult and prohibitively expensive to use safely and effectively for liquids on a mass scale. The complexity isn't arbitrary, it serves precise functional imperatives.
But surely a glass bottle serves the exact same functional imperative without the complex adhesives.
In a perfect vacuum, yes. But the supply chain is a hostile environment. That polyethylene outer layer you mentioned, it's absolutely crucial because it protects the structural integrity of the paperboard from exterior spills during warehouse storage and supermarket display. If a single-layer paperboard carton gets wet from a pallet next to it, it collapses, resulting in the loss of the entire product. That is instantly wasted food, wasted water, wasted farming emissions.
I understand the warehouse risks, but
And it goes further. The tamper-evident sealed plastic caps, which are seamlessly integrated into this complex design, are absolutely vital for preventing bacterial contamination and ensuring consumer safety across long transit routes. If we return to a single material for liquid distribution, like glass, as you suggested, we introduce immense risks of breakage. A broken pallet of glass jars isn't just a mess, it's a total loss of the embodied carbon of the food, not to mention you're looking at a catastrophic increase in transport weight.
The transport weight argument always comes up, and it brings us directly to the question of corporate responsibility. Are we supposed to be satisfied with incremental change, or should we be demanding radical transformation? Cartn's entire business model is predicated on optimizing a fundamentally flawed concept.
I wouldn't call it a flawed concept at all. Cartn's incremental innovations represent the most responsible, scientifically grounded path forward in a complex global supply chain. They are not standing still and resting on their laurels. The evidence clearly shows Cartn is actively working on making their laminated products easier and more efficient to recycle. In the meantime, they are achieving significant, scalable successes.
What kind of scalable successes? Because a slightly thinner plastic layer doesn't solve the core issue.
It goes beyond making layers thinner. For example, they are actively sourcing their paperboard from suppliers who can empirically demonstrate that their forestry practices encourage biodiversity. They are systematically moving through their product lines right now, replacing heavy plastic tubs with newly engineered paperboard lids for their major dairy and ice cream clients. This is how real, sustainable progress happens at a global scale, step by step, optimizing the materials we rely on, while simultaneously managing the realities of the logistics network.
And I challenge that as entirely insufficient. If we refer back to the Harrland Business News report cited in our source material, it perfectly encapsulates the problem with this incremental mindset. The report argues explicitly that repurposing makes it incredibly difficult to track true sustainability.
Because the metrics are opaque?
Because it is virtually impossible to accurately measure the proportion of these complex materials that are actually put to good use versus quietly discarded at the facility level. It's a black box. Incremental changes, like putting a paper lid on a multi-material tub, might look fantastic in an annual corporate social responsibility report, but they fundamentally do not solve the underlying structural flaw of the carton's multi-layered nature. We are taking a fundamentally unsustainable product and making it slightly less terrible, rather than pivoting to a genuinely sustainable paradigm. The industry must radically rethink the vessel itself, not just tweak the adhesive holding it together.
That's an interesting point, though I would frame it differently. Because when we talk about radically rethinking the vessel, we have to talk about the real-world fallout of that pivot. A sudden, radical shift to heavier, purely circular materials, say universally returning to metal cans and thick glass bottles for all milk, juice, and soup distribution, would be an environmental disaster in its own right. A disaster?
We managed it 50 years ago.
50 years ago, the global population and the scale of the distribution network were entirely different. Today, it would cause an immediate vertical spike in global transport emissions. Ships, trains, and delivery trucks would be burning exponentially more fossil fuels simply to move the massive added weight of the packaging. You'd completely negate any end-of-life circularity benefits before the truck even reached the supermarket. The systemic shock to the logistics infrastructure would be devastating to our short-term climate goals. We simply cannot sacrifice the pragmatic, vital emission reductions of today for the idealized circularity of tomorrow.
I understand the fear of logistical friction, but we cannot allow that fear to lock us into a permanent, unbreakable cycle of creating non-recyclable waste. Think about what we are doing here. We are essentially mortgaging the future of our soil, our oceans, and our civic infrastructure to subsidize the fuel costs of current distribution networks. The logistics network should serve sustainability, not the other way around.
I think that's the core of the tension right there. As we draw this discussion to a close, let's summarize where we both stand based on this exchange. If I'm synthesizing my viewpoint, it remains that until a perfectly circular, yet highly lightweight material is invented and successfully scaled to billions of units, laminated cartons remain the absolute most carbon-efficient method available to transport and preserve food globally. The profound reductions in food waste and transport emissions they offer represent a pragmatic necessity for fighting climate change right now, despite the undeniable, very real end-of-life challenges they present at the local landfill.
And from my side, my position remains that long-term environmental sustainability simply cannot be achieved through the illusions of repurposing and downcycling. We can't keep unbaking the cake. The packaging industry must urgently prioritize true chemical and physical circularity. Even if that requires a difficult transition phase involving heavier initial logistics and a rethinking of the cold chain, we cannot continue to blindly manufacture complex, multi-layered products that are fundamentally incompatible with the closed-loop environmental system.
However, through this whole back and forth, I believe we must acknowledge a crucial point of convergence in our analysis today. We both clearly recognize that the design phase is undeniably the most critical intervention point for sustainability. Whether one favors the continuous optimization of laminated layers to lower embodied carbon or a radical return to single, circular materials, the decisions made at the drafting table long before a product is ever manufactured dictates its ultimate environmental impact.
I wholeheartedly concur with that. The drafting table is the front line. Furthermore, I think we absolutely agree that consumer education regarding the harsh reality of recycling versus repurposing is currently severely lacking. When everyday consumers dutifully rinse out a multi-layered carton and place it into a recycling bin, they operate under the good faith assumption of circularity. The reality that it is likely destined for downcycling into building materials or worse, diversion to a landfill because their town lacks a specialized facility, represents a profound failure of both design and transparency.
It really does. It forces us to reflect on the immense value of looking at food packaging not merely as a disposable vessel that we don't think about once it's empty, but as a highly complex life cycle. There are significant, painful environmental trade-offs at every single stage, from resource extraction and factory production to transport, consumer use, and ultimate disposal.
Nothing comes for free, environmentally speaking.
Exactly. For those following this topic closely, the source material contains even more fascinating details to explore, particularly regarding the specific corporate governance structures and the complex supply chain logistics that dictate these industry-wide decisions at companies like Cartn. As always, we will leave the final judgment on the balance of these heavy trade-offs entirely up to you, the listener.